Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Sri
Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Pleasure of Sri Guru Taranga Giridhari Mahaprabhu reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chapter 6 of Madhya Leela. The Lord's meeting with, Ancha Leela, Chapter 6, the meeting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Raghunath Das Goswami. Kripa Gunaya Kugi Khanda Kupad Udita Bhangya Raghunatha Dasham Nyasya Swarupe Vidadhe Datangam Sri Krishna Chaitanyam Amum Prapadye. With the ropes of his causeless mercy, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu employed a trick to deliver Raghunath Das Goswami from the blind well of contemptible family life. He made Raghunath Das Goswami one of his personal associates, placing him under the charge of Srup Damodar Goswami. I offer my obeisances unto him. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda. All glories to Sri Advaita Acharya. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus Lord Gaurachandra performed various pastimes with his associates at Jagannath Puri in varieties of transcendental pleasure. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt pangs of separation from Krishna, he did not manifest his feelings externally, for he feared the unhappiness of his devotees. The transformations undergone by the Lord when he manifested severe unhappiness due to separation from Krishna cannot be described. When the Lord acutely felt pangs of separation from Krishna, only Sri Ramanand Roy talks about Krishna and the sweet songs of Srup Damodar kept him alive. Because the Lord associated with various devotees during the day, his mind was somewhat diverted, but at night the pangs of separation from Krishna increased very rapidly. Two people, Ramanand Roy and Srup Damodar Goswami, stayed with the Lord to pacify him by reciting various verses about Krishna's pastimes and by singing appropriate songs for his satisfaction. Previously, when Lord Krishna was personally present, Subal, one of his coward boyfriends, gave him happiness when he felt separation from Radharani. Similarly, Ramanand Roy helped give happiness to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Previously, when Srimati Radharani felt the pangs of separation from Krishna, her constant companion Lalita kept her alive by helping her in many ways. Similarly, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt Radharani's emotions, Srup Damodar Goswami helped him maintain his life. To describe the fortunate position of Ramanand Roy and Srup Damodar Goswami is extremely difficult. They were renowned as intimately confidential friends of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord thus enjoyed his life with his devotees. O devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, now hear how Raghunath Das Goswami met the Lord. When Raghunath Das, during his family life, went to meet the Lord at Shantipur, the Lord gave him worthy instructions by his causeless mercy. Instead of becoming a so-called renunciant, Raghunath Das, following the instructions of the Lord, returned home and played exactly like a pounds and shillings man. Then Mahaprabhu said to him, "Don't be a madman," with all this idea of just leaving everything. He said, "Go back and serve your parents and do your duties, and then when the time is right, you'll come to me," and like that. Raghunath Das was inwardly completely renounced, even in family life, but he did not express his renunciation externally. Instead, he acted just like an ordinary businessman. Seeing this, his father and mother were satisfied. When he received a message that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from Mathura, Raghunath Das endeavoured to go to the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time there was a Muslim official collecting the taxes of Saptagram. When Hiranyadas, Raghunath Das's uncle, made an agreement with the government to collect taxes, the Muslim Chaudhary, tax collector, having lost his position, became extremely envious of him. Hiranyadas was collecting 2 million coins and therefore should have delivered 1,500,000 to the government. Instead, he was giving only 1,200,000, thus making an extra profit of 300,000 coins. Seeing this, the Muslim Chaudhary, who was a Turk, became his rival. After sending a confidential account to the government treasury, the Chaudhary brought the minister in charge. The Chaudhary came wanting to arrest Hiranyadas, but Hiranyadas had left home. Therefore, the Chaudhary arrested Raghunath Das. Every day, the Muslim would chastise Raghunath Das and tell him, "Bring your father and his elder brother, otherwise you will be punished." The Chaudhary wanted to beat him, but as soon as he saw Raghunath's face, his mind changed. He could not beat him. Indeed, the Chaudhary was afraid of Raghunath Das because Raghunath belonged to the Kayashta community. Although the Chaudhary would chastise him with oral vibrations, he was afraid to beat him. So although the Kayashta families, technically they're Vaishya community, mercantile class, but they're also considered wealthy and aristocratic. And so they had a lot of influence in society. And also Srila Saraswati Thakur was from Kayashta caste, and Sri Ramaj said when he first was told about him by a friend, "Oh, there's this great sadhu in town, will you go with me to see him?" He had some reluctance, because Guru Maharaj from the Bhattacharya family, and they're very highly placed in society. But he said when he first came to the Gaudiya Math, the first time he set eyes on Saraswati Thakur, they were coming back from a Harinam Sankirtan around the town, and they came back to the temple, front of the temple in Bhag Bazaar, Gaudiya Math, and he said that Saraswati Thakur handed his dandas to someone, and they took, and then he said, and gradually he was received there. And he said, just looking on him, he immediately could understand he's completely beyond any such thing. He's a Vaikuntha man, descended. There's one devotee, ISKCON devotee, wrote the book Ray of Vishnu. So in that sense, they're not considered an ordinary jiva soul in that way. In jiva, but empowered, So he said Ray of Vishnu. Like in a ray of Vishnu, right? The Kiran means a ray coming from the sun. So you have many sparks within that. But maybe he's a ray, complete ray, something like that. So that's why we say Bhagavan Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the Pranam. Sri Ramad said to say that. Certain souls, empowered souls called Bhagavan, because they have very deep or extrasensory perception, Trikala Gya, past, present, future. They're able to see into the heart of living entities and so on. We say Bhagavan Narad, several of them. Prabhupada, of course, or Vishnupad, but Prabhupada's even more than Vishnupad as a title. But so the Kayashtas, they're like that in society. So Raghunath Das, whose family was working that time for the government, the Muslim government, of course, but they had high positions in that. So this Chaudhary, he was chastising Raghunath Das, verbally. But Raghunath Das was a very intelligent boy. Raghunath thought of a tricky method of escape. Thus he humbly submitted this plea at the feet of the Muslim Chaudhary. Amar Pita, Jeta hoy tomar dui bhai, bhai bhai tomar koloh koro sarvadai. My dear sir, my father and his elder brother are your brothers. All brothers always fight about something. Sometimes brothers fight among themselves, and sometimes they have very friendly dealings. There's no certainty when such changes will take place. Thus, I'm sure that although today you are fighting, tomorrow you three brothers will be sitting together in peace. Just as I am my father's son, so I am also yours. I am your dependent, and you are my maintainer. Palakahana paliere todite na jujai, tumi saro shastra jan, jinda pira prai. For a maintainer to punish the person he maintains is not good. You are expert in all scriptures. Indeed, you are like a living saint. When the Muslim heard Raghunath Das's appealing voice, his heart softened. He began to cry, and tears glided down his beard. They say flattery gets you nowhere, but in this case, it seemed to get him everywhere. The Muslim Chaudhary told Raghunath Das, Aji hoite tumi mora putra, Aji chadaimu tomar kori ek sutra. You are my son from this day on. Today, by some means, I shall have you released. After informing the minister, the Chaudhary released Raghunath Das and then began to speak to him with great affection. Your father's elder brother is less intelligent, he said. He enjoys 800,000 coins, but since I'm also a shareholder, he should give some portion of it to me. Now you go and arrange a meeting between me and your uncle. Let him do whatever he thinks best. I shall completely depend on his decision. So it seems like he wanted something in return for his kindly releasing Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das arranged a meeting between his uncle and the Chaudhary. The matter was settled and everything was peaceful. In this way, Raghunath Das passed 1 year exactly like a first-class business manager. But the next year, he again decided to leave home. He got up alone one night and left, but his father caught him in a distant place and brought him back. This became almost a daily affair. Raghunath would run away from home and his father would again bring him back. Then Raghunath Das's mother spoke to his father as follows. Putta batul hoila ihoi rakaka bandiya, tanna pita kai tare nirvinna. Living saint. Our son has become mad, she said. Just keep him by binding him with ropes. The Muslim Chaudhary told his father, being very unhappy, replied to her as follows. Tanna Raghunath Das, our son, has opulences like Indra. Our son is heavenly king, and his wife is as beautiful as an angel. Yet all this could not tie down his mind. How then could we keep this boy home and binding him our son? It's not possible, even one's father, to nullify the reactions of one's past activities. Yet all this, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has fully bestowed his mercy on him. Keep this boy home. Who can keep home such a madman? Even one's father. Then Raghunath Das considered something in his mind. The next day, he went to Nityananda. In the village of Panihati, Raghunath Das obtained an interview with Nityananda Prabhu. Then he was accompanied by many kirtan performers. So the next day, he went to sitting on a rock under a tree on the bank in the village of Panihati. Lord Nityananda seemed as effulgent as hundreds and thousands of rising suns. He was accompanied by many kirtan performers. So many devotees sat on the ground, sitting on a rock under a tree, seeing the influence of Nityananda Prabhu. Lord Nityananda Das was astonished. He offered his obeisances by falling prostrate in a distant place. And the servants of Nityananda Prabhu pointed out, there is Raghunath Das offering his obeisances. Hearing this, Lord Nityananda said, Chora Dili Darsham, Oi, Adi Tor You are a thief. Now you've come to see me. Come here, come here. Today I shall punish you. The Lord called him, but Raghunath Das didn't go near the Then the Lord forcibly called him. You are a thief. And placed now you've come to see me. Come here, come here. Today I shall punish you. Lord Nityananda was by nature very merciful. The Lord called him, but Raghunath Das didn't go. Being merciful, he spoke to Raghunath Das forcefully. You are a thief. And placed now you've come to see me. Aisha, Chora, Bhaga, Dudaya. Lord Nityananda was by nature very merciful. You're just like a thief. Instead of coming near, you stay away at a distant place. Now that I've captured you, I shall punish you. Make a festival and feed all my associates yogurt and chip rice. You're just like a thief. Hearing this, Raghunath Das was greatly stay away at a distant place. Now that I've captured you, I shall punish you. Right? So for devotees, make a festival and feed all my associates everything chip rice. You're just like a thief. Hearing this, Raghunath Das was greatly. That's as food is to the body, savour is to the soul. Now that I've captured you, I shall punish you. Right? So for devotees, so Raghunath Das brought chip rice, yogurt, milk, sweets, sugar, bananas and other eatables and placed them all around. As soon as they heard a festival was going to be held, all kinds of Brahmins and Raghunath Das brought chip rice, yogurt, milk, thus there were innumerable sugar, bananas and other. Seeing the crowd increasing, Raghunath Das arranged to get more eatables from other villages. He also brought 200 to 400 large round earthen pots. Thus there were innumerable. He also obtained 5 or 7 especially large earthen pots. And in these, a Brahmin began soaking chip rice. He also brought 7 to 400 large round earthen pots. In one place, the rice was soaked in hot milk in each of the large pots. Then half the rice was mixed with yogurt, sugar and banana. The other half was mixed with condensed milk and a special type in one place known as the rice was soaked in hot milk, then sugar, ghee and camphor were added. After Nityananda Prabhu had changed his cloth for a new one and sat on a raised platform in one place, the Brahmin brought before him the 7 huge pots. Ghee and camphor were added. After Nityananda Prabhu had changed his cloth for a new one and sat on a raised platform in one place, the Brahmin brought before him the 7 huge pots. Ghee and camphor. Nityananda sitting under the banyan tree. After Nityananda Prabhu had changed his cloth for a new one and sat on a raised platform in one place, the Brahmin brought before him the 7 huge pots. On that platform, all the most important associates of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, as well as other important men, sat down in a circle around the Lord. Among them were Ramadas, Sundarananda, on the platform were all the most important Kamalaka, Sadashiva and Puranda, as well as other important Dhananjay sat down in a circle, Parameshwaradas, Mahesh, Gauridas, and Hoda Krishnadas were also there. All the most important Kamalaka, Sadashiva and Puranda, as well as other important Dhananjay sat down in a circle, Parameshwaradas, close associates of Lord Balaram, Krishna Lila and Chaitanya Lila. Similarly, Udarandat Thakur and many other personal associates of the Lord sat on the raised platform with Nityananda Prabhu. No one could count them. Hearing about the festival, all kinds of learned scholars, similarly Udarandat Thakur and many other personal associates, Lord Nityananda Prabhu honoured them and made him sit on the raised platform with him. No one could count them. Everyone was offered 2 earthen pots. In one was put chip rice with condensed milk, and in the other chip rice with yogurt. Lord Nityananda Prabhu honoured them and made them sit on the raised platform. All the other people sat in groups around the platform. Everyone was offered 2. No one could count how many people there were. One was put chip rice. Each and every one of them was supplied in the other chip rice with yogurt. One of chip rice soaked in yogurt, and the other of chip rice. So all the other people sat in groups around the platform. Some of the Brahmins, not having got a place on the platform. Went to the bank of the Ganges with their 2 pots and soaked their chip rice there. Others who couldn't get a place even on the bank of the Ganges got down into the water and began eating their 2 kinds of chip rice. Went to the bank of the Ganges with their 2 pots. At that time, Raghava Pandit arrived there. Others, seeing the situation, began to laugh in great surprise. He brought many kinds of food, began eating their 2 kinds and offered to the Lord. This prasadam he first placed before Lord Nityananda. At that time, Raghava Pandit and then distributed among others. Seeing the situation, he began to laugh. Raghava Pandit said to Lord Nityananda, he brought many kinds of food. For you, sir, I have already offered food to the deity, but you are engaged in a festival here, and so the food is lying there untouched. Lord Nityananda replied, let me eat all this food here during you, sir, and I shall eat at your home at night. But you are engaged in a festival here. Gopa Jati Ami Mahu Gopa Ganushami Ami Shukpai let me eat all this food. I belong to a community of coward and I shall eat at your home. And therefore I generally have many coward associates. Gopa Jati Ami I'm happy when we eat together in a picnic like this by the sandy bank of the river. Let me eat all this food. I belong to Lord Nityananda made Raghava Pandit sit down and therefore I and then 2 pots delivered to him also. Gopa Jati Ami there were 2 kinds of chip rice soaked in like this. When the rice had been served to everyone, Lord Nityananda made in meditation brought Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to him also. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived, Lord Nityananda Prabhu stood up. When the rice they then saw how the others were enjoying the rice in meditation brought Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. From each and every pot, when Lord Nityananda took 1 morsel of chip rice and pushed it into the mouth, they then saw how the others were enjoying the chip rice in meditation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also smiling, took a morsel of every pot, pushed it into the mouth of Nityananda and laughed as he made Lord Nityananda eat it. In this way, Lord Nityananda was walking through all the groups of eaters, and all the Vaishnavas standing there seeing the fun. No one could understand Lord Nityananda as he walked about. Some, in this way, Lord were very fortunate walking through all the see that Lord Sri Chaitanya and all the Vaishnavas standing there seeing the fun. Then Nityananda smiled and sat down. On his right side, he kept 4 pots of chip rice. It was not been made from boiled see that Lord Sri Chaitanya and all the Vaishnavas. He offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a place and had him sit down. Then together the 2 brothers began eating. On his right side, he kept 4 pots. Seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eating with him, Lord Nityananda became very happy and exhibited variety of ecstatic place and had him sit down. Then together the 2 brothers began eating. On his right side, he kept 4 pots. Seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eating with him, Lord Nityananda became very happy and exhibited variety. Lord Nityananda ordered, all of you eat, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Immediately the holy names, Hari, Hari, resounded, filling the entire universe. When all the Vaishnavas were chanting the holy names, Hari, Hari, ordered, all of you eat. They remembered how Krishna and Balaram ate immediately the holy names, Hari, Hari, the cowherd boys, resounding, filling the entire universe. When all the Vaishnavas Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda were extremely merciful, all of them eat. They remembered it was Raghunath Das's good fortune that they accepted all these the cowherd boys. Who can understand the influence and mercy of Lord Nityananda? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord He's so powerful that he induced Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was Raghunath Das's good fortune that they accepted all these the cowherd boys. All the confidential devotees who were cowherd boys headed by Sri Raghunath absorbed ecstatic love. They thought the bank of the Ganges to come and eat some chicken rice. When the shopkeepers and many other villages heard about the festival, they arrived there to sell chilled rice, coffee, sweets and bananas. They thought the bank of the Ganges. As they came bringing all kinds of food, Raghunath Das shopkeepers and many other villages, he gave them the price for their goods and later fed them the very same food. Anyone who came to see how these as they came going all kinds of was also fed chip rice shopkeepers and many other villages. He gave them the price. After Lord Nityananda finished eating, he washed his hands and mouth and gave when you came to see how these as they came, going all kinds of was also fed. There was food remaining in the 3 other big pots of Lord Nityananda. After Lord Nityananda, and Brahma distributed it to all the devotees, giving a morsel to each. Then someone brought a flower garland, placed it on remaining under 3 other big pots of Lord Nityananda, and smeared sandalwood pulp all over his body, giving a morsel. When his servant brought betel nuts and offered them to Lord Nityananda, someone brought a flower the Lord smiled and chewed them, remaining under 3 other with his own hands, and smeared Lord Nityananda distributed to all the devotees whatever flower garland, sandalwood pulp and betel nuts remained. The Lord smiled. After receiving the remnants of food left by Lord Nityananda, Raghunath Das was greatly happy, ate some and distributed the rest among his own sandalwood pulp and betel nuts remained. Nityananda, after receiving the remnants of food left by Lord Nityananda, he went to the temple. Raghunath Das was greatly happy, ate some and distributed the rest among his own sandalwood pulp. Lord Nityananda first influenced all the devotees to dance, receiving the remnants of food, and finally himself began dancing. Raghunath Das inundating the entire world and distributing the rest among his own sandalwood. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was observing the dancing of Lord Nityananda, receiving the remnants of Nityananda received himself the others. Raghunath Das inundating dancing of Lord Nityananda, like the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cannot be compared to anything within these 3 worlds. No one can properly describe the sweetness of Lord Nityananda, dancing of Lord Nityananda, like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally comes to see it, cannot be compared to anything. After the dancing, and after Lord Nityananda had rested, Raghava Pandit submitted his request that the Lord take supper. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda Prabhu sat down for supper with his personal associates after the dancing and made a sitting place on his right side. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu submitted his request that the Lord take supper. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there and sat down at his place. Seeing this, Raghava Pandit felt increasing, had made a sitting place on his right side. Raghava Pandit brought the prasadam before the 2 brothers. And thereafter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there and sat all the other Vaishnavas at his place. Seeing this, Raghava Pandit felt increasing, had made a sitting place. It describes this feast that Raghava Pandit made for the 2 brothers. And thereafter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there and sat all the other Vaishnavas at his place. Seeing this, Raghava Pandit felt increasing, had made a sitting place. It describes this feast that Raghava Pandit made for the 2 brothers. And thereafter, the next morning, after taking his bath in the Ganges, Nityananda Prabhu sat down with his associates beneath the same tree under which he previously sat. Raghunath Das went there and worshipped Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. After taking his bath in the Ganges, to Raghava Pandit he submitted his desire. Sat down with his associates beneath the same tree Pamar Muhin Jiva Dham. Raghunath Das went there. Ichahai worshipped Lord Chaitanya Charan. I am the lowest of men, the most sinful, fallen and condemned. Nevertheless, I desire to obtain shelter, the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya. Like a dwarf who wants to catch the moon, I've tried my best many times, but I've nevertheless, every time I tried to go away and give up my own relationship. My father and mother unfortunately kept me bound. No one can attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without your mercy. But if you are merciful, even the lowest of men can attain shelter. My father and mother unfortunately kept me bound. No one can attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Though I am unfit and greatly afraid to submit this plea, I nevertheless request you, sir, to be especially merciful towards me by granting me shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Though I am unfit and placing your feet on my head, give me the benediction, I nevertheless I may achieve the shelter to be especially merciful towards me without difficulty. By granting me shelter, I pray for this benediction. Though I am unfit and placing your feet after hearing this appeal by Raghunath Das, Lord Nityananda smiled and told all the devotees, Raghunath Das's standard of material happiness is equal to that of of Indra, the king of heaven. After hearing this appeal by Raghunath Das, Lord Nityananda Prabhu smiled. Because of the mercy bestowed on him by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath, although situated in such material happiness, does not like it at all. Therefore, let every one of you be merciful towards him, because give him the benediction on him by that he may very soon attain shelter. Raghunath, although situated in such material happiness, does not like it at all. So the Lord, let every one of you be merciful towards him, because give him the benediction, but he may very soon attain shelter. Him to get the blessings of all the devotees, the whole community of devotees. So that's how the Lord, let every one of you be merciful towards him, because give him the benediction, but one who experiences the fragrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna does not value even the standard of happiness available in Brahmaloka, the topmost planet. What to speak of the heavenly happiness? One who experiences the fragrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then Lord Nityananda Prabhu called Raghunath Das near him, placed his lotus feet on Raghunath Das's head, the topmost planet, and began to speak. What to speak? My dear Raghunath, he said, since you arranged a feast on the bank of the Ganges, then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here just to show you his mercy, placed his lotus feet on Raghunath Das's head, the topmost planet, and began to speak. What to speak? My dear Raghunath, he said, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Hari came here personally to delete it. Now rest assured that all the impediments meant for your bondage are gone. The Lord will accept you and place you under the charge of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Damodar. You will thus become one of the most confidential internal servants and will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being assured of all this, return to your own home very soon without impediments. You will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Nityananda had Raghunath Das blessed by all the devotees, and Raghunath Das offered his respects to their lotus feet. After taking leave of the Lord and then all the other Vaishnavas, Sri Raghunath Das consulted secretly with Raghava Pandit. After consulting with him, he secretly delivered 100 gold coins and about 7 tolas of gold into the hand of Nityananda Prabhu's treasurer. Raghunath Das admonished the treasurer, do not speak about this to Lord Nityananda Prabhu now, but when he returns home, kindly inform him about this presentation. Thereupon Raghava Pandit took Raghunath Das to his home. After inducing him to see the deity, he gave Raghunath Das a garland and sandalwood pulp. He gave him also a large quantity of prasadam to eat on his way home. Then Raghunath Das again spoke to Raghava Pandit. I want to give money, he said, just to worship the lotus feet of all the great devotees, servants and subservants of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. As you think fit, give 20, 15, 12, 10 or 5 coins to each of them. I remember that sometimes in the mosque, I don't know if you're probably there, but when they had a big festival and they invited all devotees from other mosques, and all the devotees and brahmacharis and everything would be there, and the prasadam time, they would go around giving them some rupees, I don't know how many, but it was like the tradition. So Raghunath Das drew up an account of the amount to be given and submitted it to Raghava Pandit, who then made up a list showing how much money was to be paid to each and every devotee. With great humility, Raghunath Das placed 100 gold coins and about 2 tolas of gold before Raghava Pandit for all the other devotees. He's obviously a very wealthy person, and he's got money to play with, obviously because of being the nephew of the treasurer of the king, or Zamindar. So he's a privileged background. So he's gradually trying giving it away, all his things. He wants to give away as much as possible. After taking dust from the feet of Raghava Pandit, Raghunath Das returned to his home, feeling greatly obligated to Lord Nityananda Prabhu because of having received his merciful benediction. From that day on, he did not go into the interior section of the house. Instead, he would sleep on the Durga Mandap. That's the place outside where they have deity of Mother Durga. Like she's like the protector of the house. And the wealthy people, at least, they would have a Durga Mandap in their courtyard. There, however, the watchman alertly kept guard. Raghunath Das was thinking of various means by which to escape. At that time, all the devotees of Bengal were going to Jagannath Puri to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das couldn't accompany them, for they were so famous. They were so famous that he would have been caught immediately. What do you think that means? They would know that he was like a newcomer or something?
Well, that they stood out. He couldn't have just...
Yeah, he couldn't have
Blended in.
blended in
Because
very
they were
well.
already standing out of the party.
Yeah. Then Raghunath Das thought deeply about how to escape, and one night while he was sleeping on the Durga Mandap, the priest Yadunandan Acharya entered the house when only 4 dandas remained until the end of the night. So that will be dandas 24 minutes, right? So what's that? That's 4. That's couple of hours. Yeah. Must be brought like 3 in the morning or something. Jadunandan Acharya was their family, their Kula Guru, family guru. Jadunandan Acharya had been officially initiated by Advaita Acharya. Thus he considered Lord Chaitanya his life and soul. When Yadunandan Acharya entered the house of Raghunath Das and stood in the courtyard, Raghunath Das went there and fell down to offer his obeisances. One of Yadunandan Acharya's disciples had been worshipping the deity but had left that service. Yadunandan Acharya wanted Raghunath Das to induce the disciple to take up that service again. He requested Raghunath Das, please induce the Brahmin to resume the service, for there is no other Brahmin to do it. Sounds familiar. After saying this, Yadunandan Acharya took Raghunath Das with him and went out. By that time all the watchmen were deeply asleep because it was the end of the night. East of the house of Raghunath Das was the house of Yadunandan Acharya. They talked together as they went towards that house. Halfway along the path, Raghunath Das submitted at the lotus feet of his spiritual master, I shall go to the home of that Brahmin, induce him to return, and send him to your home. You may go home without anxiety. Following your order, I shall persuade the Brahmin. On this plea, after asking permission, Raghunath Das decided to go away. He thought, this is the greatest opportunity to go away because this time there are no servants or watchmen with me. Thinking in this way, he quickly proceeded toward the east. Sometimes he turned around and looked back, but no one was following him. He'd even prepared to trick his, guru at that time, so he could go to Mahaprabhu. Thinking of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he left the general path and proceeded with great haste on the one not generally used. Giving up the general path from village to village, he passed through the jungles, thinking with heart and soul about the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He walked about 30 miles in one day, and in the evening he took rest in the cow shed of a milkman. When the milkman saw that Raghunath Das was fasting, he gave him some milk. Raghunath Das drank the milk and lay down to rest there for the night. At the house of Raghunath Das, the servant and watchman, not seeing him there, immediately went to inquire about him from his spiritual master, Yadunandan Acharya. The Acharya said, he has already asked my permission and returned home. Thus there arose a tumultuous sound as everyone cried, "Now Raghunath has gone away." Raghunath Das's father said, "Now all the devotees from Bengal have gone to Jagannath Puri to see Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath has fled with them. 10 men should immediately go and catch him and bring him back." Raghunath Das's father wrote a letter to Shivanand Sen, asking him with great humility, "Please return my son." In Jankara, the 10 men caught up with the group of Vaishnavas going to Nilachal. After delivering the letter, the men inquired from Shivanand Sen about Raghunath Das, but Shivanand Sen replied, "He didn't come here." The 10 men returned home, and Raghunath Das's father and mother were filled with anxiety. Raghunath, who had been resting at the milkman's house, got up early in the morning. Instead of going to the east, he turned his face south and proceeded. He crossed Chhatrabhog, but instead of going on the general path, he proceeded on the path that went from village to village. Not caring about eating, he travelled all day. Hunger was not an impediment, for his mind was concentrated upon obtaining shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometimes he chewed fried grains, sometimes he cooked, and sometimes he drank milk. In this way he kept his life and soul together with whatever was available wherever he went. He reached Jagannath Puri in 12 days, but could only eat for 3 days on the way. When Raghunath Das met the Lord was sitting with his companions, headed by Swarup Damodar. Staying at a distant place in the courtyard, he fell down to offer obeisances. Then Mukunda Dutt said, "Here is Raghunath." As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these words, he immediately welcomed Raghunath. "Come here," he said. Raghunath then clasped the lotus feet of the Lord, but the Lord stood up and embraced him out of his causeless mercy. Raghunath Das offered prayers at the lotus feet of all the devotees, headed by Swarup Damodar Goswami. Seeing the special mercy the Lord had bestowed upon Raghunath, they embraced him also. Prabhu ke Krishna Kripa Balishta Sabha Haite Tomare Kodila Vishai Vishta Gapta Haite. The Lord said, "The mercy of Lord Krishna is stronger than anything else. Therefore the Lord has delivered you from the ditch of materialistic life, which is like a hole into which people pass stool."
No glamour there.
No. You should read the purport. Raghunath Das answered within his mind, "I do not know who Krishna is. I simply know that your mercy, O my Lord, has saved me from my family life." Prabhu kahe, "Tomar pita jeta dui jane, Chakravati sambhande hama aja kari mane." Your father and his elder brother are both related as brothers to my grandfather, Nilambara Chakravarti. Therefore I consider them my grandfathers. Since your father and his elder brother are younger brothers of Nilambara Chakravarti, I may joke about them in this way. My dear Raghunath Das, your father and his elder brother are just like worms in stool in the ditch of material enjoyment. And for the great disease of the poison of material enjoyment is what they consider happiness. Although your father and uncle are charitable to Brahmins and greatly help them, they are nevertheless not pure Vaishnavas. However, they are almost like Vaishnavas. Those who are attached to materialistic life and are blind to spiritual life must act in such a way that they are bound to repeated birth and death by the actions and reactions of their activities. By his own free will, Lord Krishna has delivered you from such a condemned materialistic life. Therefore, the glories of Lord Krishna's causeless mercy cannot be expressed. So you see, they're all a foundation for Raghunath Das's future incredible renunciation. He's really the icon of, renunciation in devotion, not renunciation for the sake of renunciation, just, but renunciation in the sense of so much complete dedication to Krishna that even their, eating and sleeping and bodily activities are more or less forgotten about. So that's very high ideal. So he's kind of the embodiment of that, even though he was the youngest, of the 6 Goswamis, and yet he's what we say Prayojanacharya, so he can give the highest goal of life, Krishna Prema. And we know that he's Rati Manjari in Krishna Leela, Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari, we say Rupa and Rati, they're like sisters. And they said they were so close that, like what one is feeling, the others will feel simultaneously. That kind of closeness, like sisters, is called kinkari. But when Rupa Goswami, he was expressing like that way to Raghunath Das Goswami, then Raghunath says, no, I am your servant, always your servant, So, like, that's again an example. The devotee would always think of themselves as a servant, whatever, like position they're given or whatever state they're in. Das and Das and Das. So, seeing Raghunath Das's skinny and dirty body because of having travelled for 12 days and fasted, the Lord, his heart melting due to causeless mercy, spoke to Swarup Damodar. My dear Swarup, he said, I entrust this Raghunath Das to you. Please accept him as your son or servant. There are now 3 Raghunaths among my associates. From this day forward, this Raghunath should be known as the Raghu of Swarup Damodar. Who's the other one? Oh, it's Raghunath Bhatta, right? Goswami. And the other? That's Raghunandan, well, that's different. Oh, here it is, look. Vaidya Raghunath, Raghunath Bhatta and Raghunath Das. So he became known as the Raghunath of Swarup. Saying this, the Lord grasped the hand of Raghunath and entrusted him to the hands of Swarup Damodar Goswami. Swarup Damodar Goswami accepted Raghunath, saying, Mahaprabhu je ogga hoila, etu koi Raghunath punna olingila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whatever you order is accepted. He thus then embraced Raghunath Das again. I cannot properly express the affection of the Lord for his devotees. Being merciful towards Raghunath Das, the Lord spoke as follows to Govinda. On the way, Raghunath Das has fasted and undergone hardship for many days. Therefore, take good care of him for some days, so that he may eat to his satisfaction. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Raghunath, go and bathe in the sea. Then see Lord Jagannath in the temple and return here to take your meal. After saying this, the Lord got up and went to perform his midday duties, and Raghunath met all the devotees present. Having seen the causeless mercy of the Lord upon Raghunath Das, all the devotees, struck with wonder, praised his good fortune. Raghunath Das took his bath in the sea and saw Lord Jagannath. Then he returned to Govinda, the personal servant of the Lord. Govinda offered him a plate with the remnants of food left by the Lord, and Raghunath Das accepted the prasadam with great happiness. Raghunath stayed under the care of Swarup Damodar Goswami, and Govinda supplied him remnants of the Lord's food for 5 days. But this is where he begins to manifest his extreme renunciation. So for 5 days he was getting the prasadam, Lord Chaitanya's prasadam. But beginning from the 6th day, Raghunath would stand at the gate known as Singhadwara to beg alms after the Pushpanjali ceremony, in which flowers were offered to the Lord. After finishing their prescribed duties, the many servants of Lord Jagannath, who are known as Vishayis, return home at night. If they see a Vaishnav standing at the Singadwara begging alms, out of mercy, they arrange with the shopkeepers to give him something to eat. This is a custom for all time, that a devotee who has no other means of support stands at the Singadwara gate to receive alms from the servants. A completely dependent Vaishnava thus chants the holy name of the Lord all day and sees Lord Jagannath with full freedom. It's a custom for some Vaishnavas to beg from the charity booths and eat whatever they obtain, whereas others stand at night at the Singadwara gate begging alms from the servants. Renunciation is the basic principle sustaining the lives of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees. Seeing this renunciation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is extremely satisfied. Well, that's yukta vairagya, of course. As I said, renunciation in devotion. Govinda said to the Lord, Raghunath Das no longer takes prasadam here. Now he stands at the Singadwara where he begs some alms to eat. When the Lord heard this, he was greatly satisfied. Raghunath has done well, he said. He has acted suitably for a person in the renounced order. A person in the renounced order should always chant the holy name of the Lord. He should beg some alms to eat, and he should sustain his life in this way. A vairagi should not depend on others. If he does so, he'll be unsuccessful, and he'll be neglected by Krishna. If a renunciant is eager for his tongue to taste different foods, his spiritual life will be lost and will be subservient to the taste of his tongue. The duty of a person in the renounced order is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra always. He should satisfy his belly with whatever vegetables, leaves, fruits and roots are available. So Lord Chaitanya he's of course in his pastimes in Ancha-lila, he's in the Radha Bhav, mood of Radharani, serving to Krishna. But he's also Acharya, appearing as a devotee Acharya. And so by giving these teachings, and sometimes it's very hard, very heavy, like the other chapter, which I was going to read, but sometimes reluctant even to read it, about Chota Haridas, you know, how the Lord seemed to treat him very cruelly and banish him completely from his association, just for when he went to beg rice from the sister of Sikhi Mahiti, who's a prominent devotee of Lord Chaitanya. And he went to his sister, and when she handed him the rice, their hands just touched. I mean, accidentally. It wasn't even it was accidentally. When Lord Chaitanya heard that, he said, I cannot stand to see the face of a person in the renounced order who consorts with women, so he should go away. And even the devotees were like completely say, but Lord, you know, it wasn't like that, and please, you know, be merciful, keep in your association. And he just wouldn't relent, you know. And it was very hard. But then, of course, we find that later on, Chota Haridas, the younger Haridas, he was given seva. He used to sing for the Lord in his, he entered the Ganges, did suicide, because, you know, that's supposed to be, at least according to the Shastras that was followed at that time, you know, end your life by entering the Ganges. And in his form as a Gandharva then, he used to sing for Lord Chaitanya when Lord Chaitanya was on the beach in Puri and deeply absorbed in the feelings of separation, Krishna and mood of Radharani, he would sing songs. There's that picture of him, like in the sky, like up in the sky, singing over the sea to Lord Chaitanya. So he's given seva that way, eternal seva. And of course, you know the story of Prabhu Vishnujan Swami. He was one of the very early disciples of Srila Prabhupada. He had been married and he took sannyas. He's very famous. The early tapes are there of him singing. He had a very special kind of voice and, you know, very emotive, very devotional, and he's on the Radha Damodar travelling party where they would go to different towns and villages. This is in America. They had 4 Greyhound buses. They'd travel on that. They'd set up this little small stage with deities. They'd do bhajan and kirtan and maybe some drama and distributing prasadam. And it was, so he was on that. And then he was one time, Srila Prabhupada was either reading or talking about that pastime of Chota Haridas, the chastisement of Chota Haridas. And the next day, they said, "Where's Vishnu Chandra Maharaj, you know?" And he'd gone, he left, they couldn't find him. And nobody knew where he'd gone. And to this day, it's not even sure, but then later on, some weeks or months later, somebody gave a report to Prabhupada that they had met someone or talked to someone in Navadvip, and this person said they saw one Western sadhu who he put a load of rocks tied around his neck and he went into the Ganges, you know, and Prabhupada started to cry. He said he didn't need to do that, he shouldn't have done that. And he was giving that example of Chota Haridas's, you know, chastisement as an example of Lord Chaitanya setting a standard. You know, sometimes it's like they say, if you want to hit the treetops, aim for the stars, right? You may not reach to the stars, but you'll definitely hit the treetops. So to set the standard very high like that, Lord Chaitanya, as an example, you know, so sometimes he was showing his independence as Supreme Lord in his dealings. And so Raghunath Das was naturally a very renounced person, even from his early life. And then okay, we'll just read a little bit more, because Raghunath Das inquired at the lotus feet of Srup Damodar about his duty, because he was begging outside the gate of the temple, but then he began to feel even that was, why should I be asking people for anything, you know, like that. He says, "I do not know why I've given up household life. What is my duty? Kindly give me instructions." Raghunath Das never even spoke a word before the Lord. Instead, he informed the Lord of his desires through Srup Damodar Goswami and Govinda. The next day, Srup Damodar submitted to Lord Chaitanya. "Raghunath has this to say at your lotus feet. I do not know my duty or the goal of my life. Therefore, please personally give me instructions from your transcendental mouth." Smiling, the Lord told Raghunath, "I've already appointed Srup Damodar Goswami as your instructor. You may learn from him what your duty is and how to discharge it. I do not know as much as he. Nevertheless, if you want to take instructions from me with faith and love, you may ascertain your duties from the following words." And this famous verse, which you'll remember, "Gramya kota na shunibe, gramyavat na koibe, bhala na khaibe, ar bhala na paribe." Do not talk like people in general, or hear what they say. You should not eat very palatable food, nor should you dress very nicely. Do not expect honour, but offer all respect to others. Always chant the holy name of Lord Krishna, and within your mind render service to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. I have briefly given you my instructions. Now you will get all details about them from Srup Damodar. One who thinks himself, that's this verse, Trinadapi Sunichina, Taror Eva Seshana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. Sometimes it said Taror Api Seshana, but here it says Taror Eva Seshana, one who's as tolerant as a tree, or Api means one's more tolerant than a tree, if that's possible. Yeah, one who thinks himself lower than grass is more tolerant than a tree. who doesn't expect personal honour but is always prepared to give respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. Hearing this, Raghunath Das offered prayers at the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord, out of mercy, embraced him. The Lord again entrusted him to Srup Damodar. Thus Raghunath Das rendered very confidential service with Srup Damodar Goswami. Okay, then it tells about the devotees all arriving for the Rath Yatra from Bengal, and how Raghunath was amazed to see everything. I will have to continue that later because it's Jai. Raj Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai. Sad Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Raghunath Das Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaura Nitai ki Jai. Panchatattva ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi Hari Bol Hari Bol.
Bhakti Swarup Chudani Maharaj ki Jai. Then, Shreyash, Anand Krishna, what are you going to...
Hari Harai Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Krishna Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Krishna Namaha.
Gopali Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana.
Giriraj Govinda. Vighnaoshna Bhagavan Singha Deva Ki, Shri Prabha Bhakta Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki, Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Bhakti Devi Ki, Sri Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai, Ananta Goti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai.